Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Miha and welcome to the channel. Have you ever noticed that sometimes you upload large amounts of documents to an AI chatbot and it seems to completely ignore some of them? Well, you're not imagining things. The reason this happens is that AI can only remember a certain amount of things at once. It's kind of like reading through a few pages instead of an entire book. When your files are large, the system breaks them into smaller pieces and only uses the ones that it thinks are the most relevant. That's efficient, but it also means that things can be left out of your analysis. Now, first thing I want to note is that AI is very good at processing data that's been structured a certain way, particularly CSV files or JSON files. In other words, tables are easier to process, but not all of our data is in that type of format. Often we're dealing with messy PDFs or Word documents. So how do we deal with that? I'll give you two recommendations in this video that will hopefully help you tackle that challenge. First, when working with large files or with many files, it's useful to do what is called pre-indexing. Indexing is simply the process of creating a table so that AI has a reference it can use as it analyzes your data. And we will create a simple index file in this video. Once our index file is ready, we will then use something called chain prompting. We will use a simple version of this called two-pass prompting, which essentially means that we're going to take our rather large prompt and we're going to break it down into two separate pieces. And we'll see how that helps AI give us a more comprehensive and better answer given the data that we've provided. So let's jump to the lab and have a look. Welcome to the lab. Let's get started. First, we'll tackle indexing. Now remember, indexing is just building an inventory of everything that we will upload. That way the AI isn't guessing what's in our files. It's working from a clear and complete list, which you can also verify. The files that we will use today are 34 articles that I downloaded on topics ranging from management and leadership to public administration and digital technology and engagement. I've prepared the prompts ahead of time to save us a little bit of time. First, let's tell ChatGPT what we will be doing. For each document, I upload, extract the titles, author, organization, or affiliation, and abstract if available. Return the results in a table with 1 row per document and columns for title, authors, organization, and abstract, and with a count of how many documents you processed. So let's make sure it understands what we wanted to do. All right, perfect. So let's begin. I will upload these in batches of 10, and that is because ChatGPT and Gemini both currently have a restriction of 10 document uploads at a time. The file names for these particular documents include the primary author and then a code which was somehow assigned by the website where I downloaded them from. So the title, the topic, their organization, none of that is in the PDF file name. This process may take a while depending on how large your PDFs are. This is still working, but while it is processing these, we can also manually verify to make sure that all 10 files have been correctly accounted for. Perfect. And it confirmed there are 10 documents. I have read many of these articles, and these brief abstracts here at least seem familiar. All right, so let's continue. Let's tell AI here that we wanted to continue with the structure. So we will tell it in the next prompt, I'm uploading the next batch of papers. Please continue with the same table structure, appending the new rows. Start numbering where we left off and include the final row count. So now we will do the next 10 articles. As you can see, the numbering continued from 10. So here's article number 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and so forth. So it looks like it is following our instructions correctly. Let us now continue, and I will upload the next 10 and then the last 4. All right, so here we go. All 34 have now been uploaded. We now have everything in this table that we need for our index file. Now we can ask it to actually prepare this in a CSV file, which we can then download. I will share this file and all of these prompts in the video description below. But to quickly show you what this CSV file looks like in the video, it simply has a row with titles, authors, organization, affiliation, and the abstracts. That's all it is. It's a very simple file. But this is what indexing looks like in its simplest form. Now that we have an index file, let's try two-pass prompting. Again, just a quick reminder, instead of giving it one single prompt, we'll break it up into two smaller ones. The first one will be there to remind AI of what we have. So it's kind of a coverage step to make sure everything's included. And then the second step will be a little bit of analysis. So first, let's tell AI what we will be doing. So here is the prompt that I have prepared. I'm about to upload a series of documents 10 at a time for later analysis. Please confirm receipt of each batch, but do not begin analyzing or summarizing yet. Simply reply, batch received. I will let you know when all files are uploaded and ready for analysis. Again, limited to 10 because I know that's the natural limitation of the tool, and we do not want it to do anything yet until we have all the files up there, including our index file. All right. Batch received, and I will upload the rest of them now. So all of our documents are now uploaded. Let's let ChatGPT know. All files are uploaded. I will now upload an index file for these documents, and that's simply the Excel file that I showed you earlier. Everything's uploaded, and we can verify that all 34 are listed here. Perfect. Go ahead and upload the index file. Oh, we just did. Let's just remind it. Now, first thing we're going to do is let's use this index file. Let's make sure that all the files are accounted for and that it can read them. So here we'll say, using the index table, list all documents authored by or affiliated with government agencies, universities, or nonprofit, return only the title, author, and organization column. So let's just make sure that it is properly referencing all the files with our index table. So here is a quick summary of government, university, and nonprofit affiliations. And again, we could verify all of these on our own to make sure that everything is accounted for. You will notice that some were excluded because some of those were actually authored by private entities. Now that it has a list and it knows, well, here's the ones that are authored by universities, government agencies, or nonprofits, now let's ask it to do some analysis. Based on those filtered papers, summarize the main research theme these institutions are exploring. Group the findings by organization type and provide a short paragraph per group. Include the numbers of papers represented in each group. So this is now the second pass. We're asking the AI to do a little bit more analysis by looking at the shorter list that we've created. So here we go. And this is exactly correct. No papers were actually published by governments or nonprofits. So I did try to trick it here, but most of them are academic papers, at least the 30 it did analyze. It did take out a few that were created by private entities. So here is a short summary. So we can continue interacting with this and ask it to further break down papers around leadership and organization, digital transformation, governments, or innovation, but we're going to stop it there. Now, you can imagine you could have asked all of this up front in one single prompt, told that here's 34 papers, break it down into 4 clusters, and then do a detailed analysis for each cluster. But there, the risk of a paper being left out that should have been included was higher than breaking the prompt down like we did here. So we could then continue with more specific prompts depending on what type of analysis we're looking for each of these 4 categories. For example, we could ask it to create a thematical overview of topic number 2. So here we go. And this is also a lot quicker now because it's now referencing less papers. So this is an example of chain prompting, right? We could continue going and building on this and continuing these analysis. What we saw in this demo is a small example of a much larger issue. Imagine if 34 files already can create some issues for AI. What happens if an organization tries to upload hundreds or thousands of files that are in all kinds of different formats, from PDFs and Word documents, Excel files, promotional or training videos, scanned documents, things can get messy very quickly. In fact, just creating an index file might create significant challenges in an organization. This is why leaders should pause and seriously think if AI can actually replace some of the complex and difficult analysis that needs to be done in many organizations. Effective AI integration is not just a technology challenge, it is a data challenge and a leadership challenge. It requires understanding how your information is organized, how your teams communicate, and how workflows need to adapt. Tools will undoubtedly continue to improve, but successful implementation requires careful change management, data governance, and training so your teams know how to use AI effectively and efficiently. Many organizations that have rushed to adopt AI have actually reported efficiency losses. And this is one reason why their data and their teams and their leadership structure is simply not ready for a systematic integration of AI into their workflows. The reality is that integrating AI into our workflows is not an easy task. We need careful leadership and careful change management. This is why even large organizations with a lot of resources have in some instances failed. Hope you enjoyed this video and let me know in the comments what your experience with integrating AI has been to date. As always, if you enjoy the content of this channel, please consider liking the video and subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.